class, everybody. I am your host, Ethan.
And I am your sweaty host, Ricky.
Today, we are talking about the best arc in Bleach by far.
Okay.
Obviously.
Good old-fashioned arc analysis on the Save Rukia, Rukia Rescue, or the Soul Society arc.
The Sarate.
But how you doing today, man?
Not bad. Had... work and shit, same old.
I worked from home today, so I worked in the darkness of my room.
AKA didn't do a thing.
Didn't do jack squat, except I actually had to do stuff today. There were clients just on fire left and right today, so I wanted to do nothing. I will tell you, and I know people at work are listening right now, I wanted to do nothing.
You're not a firefighter, so I wonder why they turned to you.
Totally unqualified, right?
Why did they turn to you?
Usually all I do is code.
Psychotic.
All I do is code, and they're like, strap this on and take this hose. The building is on fire, and I'm like, I'm not trained for this. You want something solved in your computer?
Yeah, right?
My computer is melting. Help me
You
out.
don't get it. It's on fucking fire, dude.
But one thing I wanted to bring up before we started, if you haven't checked out our Instagram, you should totally do so. Memes on memes on memes. We had a meme about boys in picture day at school, and they're posing like JoJo. And this person, blank JoJo, said that he or she actually did a JoJo pose for their yearbook photo.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Did you ever think that was even possible, like possibly flexible enough? Anyone? Well, I guess some people in the world, but have you ever been flexible enough to do a real proper JoJo pose?
I think the problem is I have a spine, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really the problem.
Yeah, all Joe stars don't have a spine. Instead, they have muscle where the spine should be. So they just are held up by pure muscle and manliness up until part 4. Exactly. So.
Yeah, muscle and just overall chutzpah.
They are leaking chutzpah from every pore. You know what? Enough with the jibber jabber, Ethan.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Great.
So, Bleach, one of the top big 3 of shonen anime. Overall, as a show, how do you like it? Like out of 100, where are you standing on it?
Yeah, it's like an easy 96 for me, but it's all like nostalgia driven.
Okay.
Like I don't think it's genuinely like that good of a story.
Even trying to remove myself from it, it's gonna be a straight 90 still. Like
right. It's really hard to not say like, yeah, I fucking loved it, dude.
It's hard not to.
And like most of that will be exhibited in this first arc. So there's a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to quickly say we're going to try to do the same kind of deal where near the end we'll kind of deal with spoilers. I mean, this is like 20 years old.
This show
so like,
is so ancient.
Honestly, if you haven't seen it, like absolutely.
You should totally see it.
What we're also going to do, our favorite guy to watch for really quick anime summaries, Somo Gaming has a video. I think it's Bleach in 16 minutes.
It's hysterical.
And obviously hilarious. And you can watch from the very beginning of the video until 6 minutes and 10 into that video, and you will have the entire first arc.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, do you consider the beginning of Bleach the start of this arc?
But of course.
I actually don't. I think there's this weird prelude kind of to the whole where the show really kicks off. And
I don't, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay, so I think it starts right when
yeah, you're wrong.
Byakuya and Renji show up.
I'm telling you why.
Go ahead.
So what happens like basically in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Ichigo can see dead people. He's dead.
End of
people.
show. Yeah,
that's it. No. So like the real start of the show is Rukia coming into his bedroom, right? And then he sees her, and that's like freaks her out a bit because he ain't supposed to be able to.
Not even close.
And then like instantly, Karin gets kidnapped,
heart snatched.
Right. That's his little sister, by the way.
By a hollow.
And she has to go fight and try to save him, but she gets like, this is kind of the really bad part is like, she's a strong ass soul reaper. Like she's an assistant captain.
That is the one thing too. Yeah. She got smacked
by like an absolute fodder level poo-poo face.
Yeah.
Hollow. Anyway, so she gets injured in some way, and she's like, Ichigo, if you want to save your sister,
throw yourself on my sword.
Yeah, throw yourself on my sword, which, by the way, insane that he's like, okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Anyway, so he throws himself on her sword, and attains or unlocks the power of the Soul Reaper.
The Shinigami.
Right.
No, but here's why. So why do you
wait,
think?
wait.
Yeah, no, hit me. Don't
Okay.
do it. Don't you do a plot summary. Don't you
I'm
do
not.
it.
This is it.
Okay.
So, because she did that,
Mm-hmm.
she has to be executed. Thus,
Fair.
save Rukia because she helped me
Fair.
and my family.
The counterpoint to that is the viewers don't know that this was a crime until that whole early like Monster of the Week feel ended. And like that's why it feels like such a dissonance between the first like 25 episodes and then when Byakuga and Renji show up to get her. That is when you both leave that Monster of the Week nonsense behind and you find out of the gravity of her crimes. And then that's, I think, revealing that and Ichigo getting absolutely slapped by a captain kind of kicks everything off, and you now have a proper arc beginning because then you have motive. You have motive then.
Yeah, I think that is a point.
I heard you almost say good point.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't think it's a good point, and I'll tell you why.
Because it's a great point. Let's keep going.
No, if you really want me to be honest, I think it was a really bad point.
Oh, come on. Okay,
So-
then counterpoint me.
Okay, so Rukia knows she did something wrong, and if you recall, because she transferred her power or whatever to Ichigo, she's slowly losing the ability to do her job.
Right.
So, if they didn't do the Monster of the Week type thing, Ichigo wouldn't realize, like, hey, I gotta, like, kind of carry on for her after she dies.
Okay.
Because, remember, the way they do this is, like, they'll send Shinigami to the human plane to deal with hollows and kind of, like, send other souls beyond. And they give them, like, districts and shit like that.
It's like their version of, like, police work.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
So if that police vanishes, then a bunch of hollows will start to show up.
If you want the powers of a police officer, let me shoot you in the stomach. Say no more.
Folks, that does not work. Do not. Abort.
Please don't do this.
Do not do that.
But regardless of where it starts, would you say the meat actually does start when she gets taken? I mean, that's where the arc starts to go.
Well, it really gives you, like, the stakes, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean, what's kind of nuts is the other thing that makes it start earlier, I think, is because unless you did your Monster of the Week stuff where she's teaching him, she's going to school with him, like, who gives a shit if she gets kidnapped?
I'm not saying it's a bad section. I just didn't feel like
I just wanted to know why you think it's such a bad section.
Because it was trash. Monster of the Week is for bad writers only. No. I think it does have a place. I think it gets the audience, like, their feet wet with the concept of Shinigami and what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I just don't know what you got against Tai Kubo.
Where did you hear this? Tai Kubo he's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. So, I think you touched on the first big point about why it's almost unanimously agreed that the Soul Society arc is probably the best written, the most fun to watch, the best in general, is the stakes. The stakes don't feel crazy. Every other arc after this, it's all about the world is at stake, Soul Society is at stake, literally multi-planes of existence are at stake. But in this one, he is saving a friend with his friends. It is classic shonen personal. It's the stuff you see in My Hero Academia, where, like, the world's not at stake, just your friend was captured and I gotta get him back.
Right. And I think there's some, like, pretty bonkers shit that goes down in this arc.
Oh yeah.
But
oh yeah.
Like, since you're so new to the, like, world in general at this point, I think it doesn't feel as crazy as, like, stuff starts feeling, you know, post Aizen meeting Chair Sama type stuff.
Oh gosh, yeah. Chair Sama.
Or, like, you know, some of the filler arcs are just god awful.
How dare you bring up the filler arcs in this laboratory?
There's multiple, guys.
There's literally, just to put it in perspective, in the middle of one of the most iconic fights in the series, they hard deviated and then went and did a filler arc.
Yeah.
It was grotesque. It was
a abomination.
Yeah, it was frankly sickening. But
so what I liked about the first arc versus the rest, you know, like, that obviously the power scaling issue wasn't really a thing yet, or power escalation, but it kind of was, but they played it off really well.
I was hoping you'd bring it up because I really want to dive into this.
But I think it played off well.
Okay, so yeah, I actually kind of agree. So at first, let's isolate Ichigo just in this arc. How did you feel about his rapid ascension of power level from the time, from just the time he met Renji to the time he saved Rukia? I mean, think about what his accomplishments were in just that time frame.
Well, I mean, I think what you have going for you as like the viewer, not like thinking this is crazy, is like all these people are either not fighting him at like any real amount.
They all still kind of see him as
well, like, because remember he fights Kenpachi, which is like a large fight.
Oh yeah,
and Kenpachi gets injured and stuff, and it's like, come on, like we know about Kenpachi now, and it's like if he really wanted to, he could have cut him in half and like honestly laughed in his face.
But he did take the eye patch off. It did come
accidentally. Off. He got it cut off.
Regardless, he can't. There's a reason it was on because he can't purposefully suppress his spiritual pressure, so he doesn't have that capacity because it's just so massive.
But didn't Zangetsu like help him at that point?
Yes,
they like doubled up their whatever. It gets a little like contrived.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do like power escalation does feel crazy for him because I mean. Beginning of series, what's cool is they start off by saying, wow, your sword's massive.
Yes, that's your first indication.
Yeah, like you got a really phallic symbol right off the rip. No, so he's got a really like large sword.
Your shiny sword is super long, dude. Yeah, it's crazy.
And Rukia keeps telling him, wow, your sword is so huge.
Oh my god, can I see that sheath real quick?
No. So they basically say like your sword size is relative to your spiritual pressure, which I guess we should just say that's the like power system within this world. Is Ryatsu, spiritual pressure, or whatever you want to call it, depending on whatever translation you read or heard.
And they mentioned that if captains didn't unlock their Shikai and just left it at the base level, that their swords would be as big as buildings. And where Ichigo's is already like Buster Sword, Final Fantasy level. Well, they don't say that till
the end, kind of.
You don't think so? I thought that's when he was teaching him Shikai in his weird basement that... Basically,
he's
like
talking about Urahara.
Urahara, excuse me. I think he's just way overrated.
And that's why you were wrong. You were wrong then. You were wrong now. No, so I think honestly the first time was when his dad tells him about he's fighting Grand Fisher, and he's like, he's got a puny little sword, and he goes,
because I can control my spiritual pressure.
So we're not gonna get into that's way later, but like. Other things I really loved, well, anyway, so yeah, let's stick on this really fast.
We love this show so much. It's hard not to go tangential anywhere. But with Ichigo, I actually did not like the quickness he gained his Bankai. I really didn't.
But they did explain it away fairly well. Like, it wasn't the worst, like believe in yourself type situation. What was cool, and this is one of the cooler parts. Mm-hmm. So, like, definitely put yourself in the shoes of like the first time you watch this, because it'll be now that you've watched the whole series or a lot of the series or a lot of series in general, like something like this maybe doesn't hit you as hard, but like the internal conversation with Zangetsu.
Yes,
like this internal reverse rainy world.
Yeah, that becomes a mainstay for the entire series, and the depictions of Ichigo interacting with his Shinigami powers was in full force probably in the best depicted in this arc. Later it gets a little crazy, but it never goes off the wall. But you're right. I think the way that he gains it in a very expedited way, it didn't feel cheap. But what I did think it cheapened a little bit is the impact of what Bankai is to the Shinigami.
Right.
Because as Byakuya said, that, people that train for...
Byakuya.
Oh my god, fine, Byakuya.
I just want to help you.
As a Byakuya, sit over there and let me talk. No, it's fine. Byakuya, he mentioned that it takes over 100 years to even gain a Bankai and then even further to perfect it. And even with all that training, only people that are lucky or born noble can even think about achieving this. And I think that if that were to maybe have been more pushed further earlier on, before Ichigo revealed his, then that would have kind of cemented how Ichigo is meant in a way as a character to break Soul Society's rigidity, both in their perception of the rules and in their perception of power. Because power, as a lot of them say, is almost like, at this level, is like almost a luck thing. It's luck, but also a lot of preparation and training. And he just is like, 2 days, boop, I'm in. I'm in the Bankai Club. No big deal. Easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Obviously, it was too fast. Like, you'd like to see him earn it more than just having like an internal, struggle.
Right.
But I think that's this is gonna sound stupid, but I think that's honestly part of it that was like so cool about it. It's
never mind. That was stupid. It's okay. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
But
I see what you're saying.
But like, this dude comes out of nowhere. He's literally here just to like help his friend. Like, that's the other thing, is like, his only goal is to help someone else. It has nothing to do with like for funsies.
I love that.
No for funsies.
No for funsies. This ain't for play. This is
real.
real. This is real. And that's the thing, is I've always been a huge fan
this
of
shit right here is my swag.
It's my swag.
Soul Society.
Oh, this is right here is my Soul Society.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, it's funny because like, I think all shonen out there, past, present, and future, if you keep the stakes personal, it is so much more relatable while you still have these wacky, insane powers. Hunter x Hunter, My Hero, they do that fantastically, and that's why they're either remembered super fondly or insanely popular now. And this is why this arc, even with the weird power-ups, still feels good and well written, like, to watch. Because it's all something you can relate to. It's like, you have the power to save your friends, would you? Oh yeah,
absolutely not.
Oh no, would you let him get executed by a giant phoenix?
Hey
bird
man,
thing?
They broke the rules.
They broke the rules.
Who am I to step in front of the Sarate's rules?
Oh man, but
it's been around for 2,000 years.
That is the thing, though. I mean, they really do world build in this arc better than any other world they have to introduce, and I think it's almost a masterclass in how, Ichigo shows up. He gets into the Sarate by like nefarious means with like that crazy cannon thing.
Right.
But the enemy, quote unquote, is waiting for him. So he's not dropping in and then, come on in. You have a nice like old woman giving you tea and a bed for the night. You're in the shit day one, second one, get after it. And I love that, because as he fights, he then learns that these literal death gods are very human. When he fought Renji, he was just like, it's my fault that Rukia is getting killed. It's my fault. I've known her since childhood. It really personalized him, and it just kept going.
Yeah, I think Renji's fight was in my opinion, a very humanizing part of the arc. Because I still think like Byakuya's like excuse was really fucking shit. Well, I gotta follow the rules. I'm noble. Blah blah blah. But let's quickly Renji.
Yeah.
So like the fact that like he felt so personally responsible, I think that hit everybody.
That hit me hard, man.
And then he's like, "Go save her for me.
Please do it." Yeah, and every fight was personal for Ichigo too, because like I said, he's in the shit now, and up to this point, he had been fighting kind of fodder at that point. Absolute fodder, and he's now fighting
instantly. Third seat, Ikaku.
Kind of slaps him a little bit.
Oh, he might be. Yeah, he is third seat.
Third seat,
Rachiro is too.
Yeah.
He might be 4
behind Peacock fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any case, yeah.
Third or fourth, which is nuts in the fighting division.
Yes.
And then he fights Renji, Kenpachi.
He goes from
Byakuya,
third or fourth seat to vice captain to captain to captain with a Bankai, and he takes down their execution tool, Sokyo that's been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, it was like 2,000 years.
It has the power of 10,000 Zanpakuto. Slap. And so, I mean, it's really interesting the way they progress the fights. It feels very almost exponential in a controllable way. It's not so.
Isn't that nuts though?
It's very well paced.
Honestly, like if you just use logic, you put any nostalgia in it. It was like unbelievably fast, like unnecessarily fast.
It was fast.
Like,
but
he's kicking Captain's ass instantly, but we feel like it was okay.
Right. So I went online and I was like, can somebody explain that bit? And the only good argument I can really kind of pick out, I guess it was just a well-written argument, was that it was alluded to from the beginning that Ichigo was never meant to be normal. He was this intersection between a whole bunch of circumstances, and in that vein, he like his base level is just so much higher than anyone's base when they started out. I think that's the only way you can even explain that.
The thing about that is the only two things you had going for you to like allude to that is that he could see these spirits,
right,
and that they said, "Wow, your sword's massive.
Your sword is thick."
Like, that was literally the only two things. So, like, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Provisionally,
yeah.
They can get a certificate from the Weebologist, but not the full degree.
They got an S for satisfactory. This is a pass-fail class. Then
and we're not in Japan. S doesn't mean perfecto.
Then, depending where you're from, that's perfection. But I want to talk about, too, just the way that some of these characters develop, because... my goodness. I mean, I don't think I related to many characters after this arc at all. Nothing really tugged at the heartstring.
I don't know. I really kind of, I would say, connected on a deep, deep level with Aizen.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What exactly was it about him? What really got your goat with
just
him?
Like being a genius. Like, it's so lonely. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just got to be like, yeah, maybe I am just like too smart. Maybe I should just like take on the Soul King.
I can't even believe you right now. You're comparing yourself to Aizen.
I would say he was probably modeled after me.
Was he?
Yeah.
Are you sure you weren't modeled after him?
No. So, Dad, you'll have to obviously confirm or deny this
by watching Bleach.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think what I heard, and this is literally through the grapevine.
Okay.
Tite Kubo was in America.
Okay.
In 1994.
And he saw your 2-year-old ass. And
so I was just one. And for whatever reason, he was in Cincinnati, and he came up, saw my parents, and they're like, yeah, this kid's honestly a freak.
The man, he didn't say a word. He shed a single tear with a smile on his face, left, and started drawing panels in his car.
The crazy part?
Yeah.
Doesn't know English.
Oh, my gosh.
They had a whole conversation. Didn't hear a word.
So, yeah, you and him conversed in perfect Japanese?
No, not me.
Oh.
My parents.
I thought you were a genius, though.
I was one.
I mean, genius doesn't know any age, man.
I was one.
I mean, Ray from Promised Neverland knew all his shit when he was one, so...
He just remembers it.
He remembers it.
No, anyway, so...
But, like, you know what? Let's use that segue. Aizen.
You're right. I am the best. No.
Aizen as a villain in this arc. Oh, my God. Dude.
You just blew the whole load, man.
Well, I mean...
Whatever. All right, we're nearly halfway through the episode.
We're on it.
So we're just gonna go ahead and do some spoilers.
This spoiler is 20 years old.
Okay, but like, yeah, and everyone knows about it anyway.
Yeah.
But so like, if you're watching this for the first time, which we did, obviously, when we watched it for the first time, you think Aizen is a good guy, one of the captains, that is killed like instantly. While Ichigo enters the Soul Society,
literally pinned up against the wall,
right,
someone else's sword, stapled to it,
and so you instantly think the stakes just got like really effing way higher than you thought. Like,
it's almost like a murder mystery inside the Sarate, and it was just like it's a huge whodunit.
And they're starting to blame Ichigo and his squad because they're the only guys they know of that's like intruding, and so like, I mean, we obviously talked about this before, but we think that Aizen reveal was maybe like one of the best villain reveals in history.
I think it's up there in my top 3 that I've seen. Yeah, hey, wait a minute. We had an episode that's all about our favorite villains, and we talked about Aizen.
Uh-huh.
Well, and then we kind of, it's all right. So we spoiled that too then. It's all good. It's all good.
Wow.
So he basically, like, how did that reveal go? What's the chick's name that, didn't he throw someone in front of little ice boy
Toshiro,
and Toshiro, wasn't he gunning for somebody?
No, so what happens is he he reaches in and grabs a Hogyokyu from inside of Rukia because Urahara hit her in her.
Yeah,
so
what was that about?
I still don't know, and I've seen it 15 times. I don't get it. I don't know what happened. I don't really know why. But somehow he hit it in Rukia Kuchiki.
Yeah.
And so Aizen also somehow figures out that it's inside of her.
He's a mad genius.
Yeah, but
obviously.
He plucks it out of her, and then Ichigo goes to attack him. Maybe that was right before he pulls it out of her. Anyway, he attacks Aizen, and Aizen stops his entire sword with one finger, or he grabs it like this. And then, so we had thought he was dead until this literal point, and he grabs it, and you're like, holy shit. Oh, because Tozen and the other dude comes up to try to F it up.
That's it.
And Gin.
So I don't know, man.
Not only was he like the big bad, and now he looks cool with his slick back hair, but he took 2 other captains with him.
Gin and Tozen, yeah. Tozen, yeah. And what an interesting development, because Gin always kind of had that personality. He always kind of had that shiftiness to him, and he looked like a snake. He always had the snake illusion to him. And Tozen is just a man of justice and pure
blind
unadulterated justice.
Oh man.
So
because he's blind, get it?
Wait, another spoiler. Yeah. How dare you?
Shut up.
No, he I think what was his reasoning, that he vibed with Aizen's thought about the Soul King being a ruthless, tyrannical,
basically
dictator.
He basically just vibed with him on one night they got high or something.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, you're kind of right,
dude. He is just a chair, dude. Ooh. Crazy, man. So basically he and Gin basically fly away with Aizen and literally set up the stakes for the rest of the show. I think that was the last good moment as far as stake and power escalations go, because after that, it really gets a little bit too out there.
I don't know. I still think the Wakamunda arc was very good.
Not saying it's not, but we do have to do a comparison about why.
Well, I think the stakes were also good. The problem, though, is you're kind of bored of people getting kidnapped at that point.
You know what?
That might be the only thing.
That might be more right, because the rescue blank arc concept was already done, and then what did Kubo do?
You're like, oh yeah,
round 2, baby.
Orihime gets taken. Oh, come on.
Orihime, and she just loses all sense of personality, from that point onward.
Yeah.
In my head, because she may have stood up to one of the Espada once, and that was it. The rest of her script was like, Kurosaki-kun, and that was it.
Well, that, and she was literally useless except for her one ability to reverse time or whatever it was on wounds. I kind of want to talk about the aesthetics of the show, though.
Hit me with it,
because I think this is what instantly I resonated with.
Okay.
So I think the first time I watched it was either the end of high school or the first year of college.
Okay.
So that's 2011-ish time frame.
Mine was I was definitely binging it sophomore year when I lived with RoboPat. So yes, I remember. I must have been around then.
So the aesthetics of the show are interesting.
They're sharp. It's
yeah and no at the same time. It's grainy. It's gritty. It feels very industrial. I don't know. And then the soundtrack to boot. I think it really puts you.
Rips.
Yeah, first of all, I listen to that shit on YouTube all the time.
It's so good.
But I think it really puts you in a space where you're you're very obviously not in the world that we know.
The modern. Okay.
And it's I don't know, just it feels very gritty, and then the way they just depict certain things, for instance, soul pressure as being this
almost
literal,
a vibration, gravity. Yeah.
And this, you can see all these lines pushing things down, right?
And weaker people literally be brought to their knees,
right.
Feeling I'm getting crushed under this, and the effect that they add really shows it, because it isn't just an aura. They use that later, but it's as if everything in sight was affected, and that was ballin'. I love that look.
Right. And just the obviously the cinematics and the grainy kind of feel that it had, I don't know, man, it just made it feel very industrial to me, and then they obviously couple with that amazing soundtrack that like there is very industrial like sounds and like like screeches.
So you're feeling
and,
like it had like a
and,
gritty, edgy feel to it.
I think it was very well set in the upper side of shonen, not the lower ages.
I got you.
But I also think that's what kind of left it behind from the other two of the U.S. or Western thought of the big three.
Yeah.
I think, from a shonen genre, for it to be like older centric sort of.
It definitely was on that side.
Yeah, and I don't think that really helped it versus like a One Piece or a Naruto.
Because the color palette of the other two are just chipper.
Yeah,
like,
blasted everywhere.
Oh my gosh. One Piece is just this saturated, like, eye fest. It's great to look at. It's very pleasing. And everything's rounded in that show. Very rounded edges. Luffy's got a very rounded design. But what I like about it in that particular arc is that you can tell if you watch the entire show, that last fight at the very end in the Fullbring arcs and stuff, it felt more new age. You can tell it was made more digitally. It had faster motion, more frame rates, but something about that original arc, it had that almost old style anime that maybe were like Dragon Ball Z kind of came from. You can tell it's not, the lines aren't super clean. It had the graininess visually a little bit too.
Right.
You can tell it almost was from a different era while still being new, and then it slowly transitioned away from that, but I do miss that a lot.
Yeah, and I think like just basically the scenes in general, like nearly everything is at night unless they're at school.
Yes.
And then the Serete is just this like stark contrast to the world of the living.
White buildings,
literally
like crazy.
White buildings, white walls, all these things, and like this like tan street or something like that. I can't remember what color it was, but like it was just a very like stark contrast, and I think it led to like. First of all, I love the art of the Serete because it felt very like ethereal, like very heavenly.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. It's where literal gods live.
Right.
So you're right. The aesthetic is very, very on point, and and all the character designs for all the captains too, fantastic, just fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta say, if nothing else, for Tite Kubo, those character designs are crazy. And he designed so many. Like
he did. And their backstories and just because he had the design. We were talking about the other day on another episode that every captain needed a design, every vice captain needed a design, a lot of third and fourth seats need designs.
Potentially fifths.
Fifths, depending on how important they are. It was a lot. And I almost feel that maybe the next arcs, like the Hasamundo arc, started to tip the scale of too many characters. Because you got the Wizards, you have all of the Rancor. I don't know, maybe they really hit a sweet spot in that first arc.
Yeah, so like I said in the 2 episodes ago, I love all the different groups.
Exactly.
It really hit me close to home. But I think what happens when you get too overzealous about how many people is like you can't go as deep into everybody. Which I think is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Like Hachi, I think he was the vice captain of the Keto Corps.
Yeah.
He's one of the Wizards. Like, nothing other than that about him, as far as I know.
That boy's thick, though.
And like,
good Lord.
He's
a big boy.
He's like a big-ass bowling pin.
He does. Yeah.
And like, I don't know. Like, I think also in Wako Mundo, you just yearn to see all the captains, like, so bad.
That's part
because
of it,
he built up so much, like, I think admiration or, I can't call it idolization. Like, you just wanted to watch all these other stories so bad. Like, not that Ichigo is necessarily a boring character, but he's not, like, since he's so tsundere.
Is he?
He's just kind of like, what? Like, he's
aloof, yeah. I mean,
yeah, he's, like, supposed to be like not interested in doing all this, but he's just gonna save his friend. I want power to save my friends.
He's a shonen main character. He needs to be this kind of empty-ish shell with attributes that most boys or teens or me want to aspire to. Like wants to save his friends, wants power to fight. Like,
yeah. I mean, but
so I get that.
I'm just saying he's very one-dimensional, and all these captains,
by contrast,
have so many different dimensions, facets. That as people from the world of the living, we didn't really like have any real concept of. So like I'll just tell you, the whole series, I just want to see Yamamoto go all out.
Oh yeah, it's a crime that he didn't get that.
And it's because I think for me, things like and what they did amazing in this show and this arc specifically was they drop little throwaway lines where they'll be like, why do you think I've been the head captain for 1,000 years?
And you're sitting there like, why?
Holy
Tell
shit,
me why, Yamamoto. Seriously, I need to know.
And he goes, because there hasn't been a Shinigami born stronger than me in all that time.
Swing! Oh my god, give me a fight worth watching,
Right.
dude!
Like, oh god!
He literally pulls his sword out and everything around him melts. He doesn't have a good competitor. But I get what you're saying is that I think Kubo might be one of the masters in like old school shonen of character subversion, because everyone, like, I didn't expect Kenpachi to be like able to respect anybody. I didn't even think Renji was like had a heart at all.
I thought he was
at first.
a prick.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit initially,
Yeah.
and then he becomes one of my favorite characters, honestly. And Byakuya, like, you would think he's just this rigid asshole, but the reason why he felt the need to follow the rules in this case is because he already broke them once by taking Rukia in. So he, like, it was a lot more nuanced, and you thought that
it feels weird. So like it feels even older school than like medieval almost, because like I'm just thinking in general, like kings and nobles, they can do whatever the fuck they want, right? Normally,
it definitely felt like feudal state. Like,
well, like that's what it feels like from our world. Is like
right.
If you're a lord, you can do whatever you want. Well, in this world, for whatever reason, like nobles are held to a really high standard, right? It's not like they just rule it.
Right.
They
got the chops
like,
to back it up. Like,
and that would be a Japanese thing that is kind of like lost in translation, but like the Kuchikis and the Shihoins, right?
Yeah.
They're like expected to run this exact squad, and you're expected to have a strong squad. You're expected to do all these things right. And so, they did a couple, him specifically did a couple things outside the realm of like normal to that like status quo of the like royal families, and like we find out way later that like there was more royal families that did some shit and now they're not.
Yeah, so I mean, and it wasn't from just these are the rules. It's you guys are the reason why, like, you're the enforcers of these rules. Right. We look to you to keep the order more so than others. So,
and like I can understand that, like if you have a captain that is constantly breaking the rules and doing shit like that, like it's not gonna seem,
get him out of here,
right? Well, it just doesn't feel like your rules mean anything, right?
Exactly.
So like I understand that, but then you have like the stark contrast of Kenpachi, right? He does whatever the fuck he wants and he doesn't care.
Yeah, everyone, and that's why he's leading the fighting most battle heavy squad, is because this society, the Serite, is not shying away from power. They just have rigidity in place to put certain people, like, you a big brainiac, 12th division for you. You want to battle hard and get gutsy on the battlefield, 11's for you. You want to get medical, 4th's for you. Like, right. That's what those rigidity and that boundaries are set up to, be a well-rounded, powerful, Goaty 13. And that's why I like this arc so much with Ichigo, because this more than most, his place in all this is to shatter boundaries, is to shatter preconceptions that have been there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And that's why I think I can forgive maybe his power scaling and his attitude, because, Soul Society needed like a swift kick in the ass with orange hair to get all them moving into maybe a more futuristic mindset. And, at the end of the day, I think it does work.
But isn't it weird, because they have the 12th Division doing all this like futuristic crazy shit, right? Like scientifically, and then they're also still like very like feudal lord time feeling. Like
they just shove them in their lab, just go stay in the lab and just do your thing.
Yeah, but they have like these cell phones and shit. Like I don't know,
yeah,
it feels very like like very technologically advanced up there, and then also like repressed at the same time, which might be a decent metaphor for Japan as a whole.
Ooh, I like where your head's at. Yeah, that could be interesting that they're moving forward while still maintaining themselves in a certain order that's been there for a long time.
So a weird thing also, like, normally we would say, like, a one-dimensional character sucks, right? Like, generally.
Right.
But, like, think about the ones that we have here. Like Ichigo, we already kind of mentioned, but Kenpachi, his only dimension is, I want to fight, I want to have fun, I want to find somebody that can fight with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. But everybody loves Kenpachi.
It didn't feel, I don't think they like him. I think they respect his power.
I mean, like, viewers.
Oh, viewers love him. And I think he doesn't necessarily need any subversion. Maybe the only subversive moment for me was I didn't think he can respect anybody except for his vice captain. He didn't seem to respect any of his squad, just because he's just that much more powerful and powers everything in the 11th. But then he found Ichigo, and it's just like, oh, heavy breathing. Let's go.
It's kind of like Hisoka and Gon and
a little bit, yeah. So I mean, so Hisoka kind of looks down. He does his own thing. He has his own agenda, and then Gon steps in, and he's like, all right, you're my agenda now. You're on my swing. I don't think Kenpachi ever swung with his schlong, but he did with his shiny sword.
Yeah, he did.
For sure.
And honestly, stop saying that.
Absolutely not.
I'm getting so frustrated in editing.
But I'm not. No. I'm purposefully saying shiny sword now.
Oh my god.
They call it in the business a catchphrase.
Yeah, and then I think semi-closing thoughts here on just like why I loved it so much. Like, I think, I don't know, it just did a lot to like change your perspective every like couple of like, I don't want to call it like mini arcs, but like every like 30 episodes or something like random as hell happens and you're like, what the? You
don't get those shocks anymore after this arc.
Right.
You never feel that way.
You find out that clogs and hat guy is Urahara, and he was a captain, and he's a science genius. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then he's teaching you like soul candy and all this stuff to get him like out of his body. Yaroichi is the cat. You're like, what the? You know what I mean? Like, just this kind of crazy shit. And then, just that culmination at the very end of like, basically saving Rukia, but getting Hogaku's taken, then like getting the whole Aizen like turning coat, and then like the very, very end, right? They say, they basically forgive him, which I thought was whack as fuck.
They didn't quite. They did
and
forgive him. They gave him
substitute Shinigami badge,
which we do find out later has more important purposes, but you need to go watch the show to find out. I think this arc never overextended itself. It knew right where it needed to be, right at the right time. There were times in other arcs that I didn't feel like there were any ass pulls so hard that it couldn't be explained in the current situation in this first arc. There are others in the future that I'm like, are you fucking serious? Ichigo turns into this out of nowhere. This is horseshit. But I mean, that's true to me. So the writing is unbelievably tight. I think that is a common trope in a lot of shonens where your early arcs are very potent.
Is it tight?
I think it's
other than his name. Because I mean, and just like from the things we've talked about today and like rethinking about it, I don't know, man. It just seems like sometimes he just kind of randomly did some stuff, and it only becomes tight later when you know the reason why all this kind of makes sense earlier.
But for someone to have that kind of foresight, I mean, maybe.
But did he go back to like explain all these plot holes?
A little bit of retcon.
That's all I'm asking. I don't know.
I think he might have. I think he had.
Do we give people too much credit sometimes?
Maybe. And I think maybe even it might be the sign of a good writer that even if you don't have the foresight, retcon it in a way that makes the things in the past feel like, oh, okay, that feels good. Like when I watched the last fight he had when he went in his Bankai and he was kind of getting whipped a little bit, and then his mask came out, I was like, the fuck, like, and damaged Byakuya, like, to the point where it nearly like took him out of the fight. And I'm like, why did that happen? You don't find out until a later arc why he can do that, why that comes out. And that then may still feel a little ass pull, but it wasn't completely unjustified. That might have been my only complaint of the entire arc, like a hard complaint. Like, come on, like, why pull that out just as a teaser for another arc? I mean,
it is, and it's like completely unexplained and everything in this arc. I agree.
You
the
know what?
Wizard mask is useless in this arc and kind of stupid.
It is, and I think the way he could have alleviated that is kind of doubling down on Ichigo's freshness with Bankai. He could be getting stronger in that fight because he's only had it for like a day or two.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, so he does one fight with Kapachi where he says, "Hey, Zangetsu, let's work together and become strong."
And he's like, oh, "Okay."
And then he never does that ever again.
He does it. He does it in some filler.
No, he never ever does that again. Where they like add each other's spiritual energy together and like got strong.
He did do that with the White Hollow in a filler arc in the Zanpakuto Come Alive one. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think of when he ever did that again. But you're right. In the main animated canon, I don't think he ever did that again.
All I'm saying
We're
is,
gonna get some Instagram person, Bleach expert, saying like, "Well, actually."
Well, feel free.
Please do. Yeah.
But all I'm saying is, had they used that as the method of him getting like overpowering,
oh yeah,
it would have felt better than like.
Imagine if his connection to
his
Zangetsu
getting stronger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Double down.
That would be so much better.
So excited, very yes. He would have gotten like in middle of a fight, getting stronger because he's still kind of working out the kinks of the Bankai a little bit, and that would have been a lot cooler to see than like, oh, Hollow Mask, he's now gonna whip it, and here we are. So.
Yeah. I mean, so, kind of in closing, I love the show. I even love the later shit. That's just me, man. I don't know. I think it's because that aesthetic was just like hit me so hard at that time.
I could
like
see
the
that
grainy, like adult-ish, feel to it. The sick ass music, that industrial, sick, scratchy. Yeah.
But I think my closing thought is the show had a weird trajectory for me.
Also, amazing dub.
The dub is very good.
Johnny Young Bosch is my man.
And the show kind of starts Monster of the Week, and I'm like, all right, I can vibe with this. This is a really cool concept. And then this huge spike of interest, just amazing writing for me, character development, power display, and then a slow trek down, and then bottoms out with the Fullbring arc. Just bottoms out. But I had highs in the Soul Society arc that I did not experience anywhere else in the show, I would say.
I mean, I think I like everything that isn't in the world of the living.
Yeah. Okay, I can vibe with that. I can vibe with that.
Anytime they go off-world or do something crazy, that's what I really like. Well, fake Karakura Town obviously was dope, but just saying.
Dope. But yeah, I'd like to maybe at some point in the future analyze another arc. Maybe let this one sit for a while and analyze another arc from the show and see, with knowing this Soul Society being such a high for the show,
right,
what made the others a little weak by comparison? Was it because it was next to it? Was it just because it had it? They had to live up to that, but
less of a clear goal. Who knows?
Stakes be crazy,
or like a bunch of rando shit comes out.
Probably a bunch of rando shit comes out. But yeah, you know what? That's it, man. Thank you all for listening and coming to class. You can find us on Apple, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you digest your podcast at.
Thank you all for watching at home. If you're on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe.
As you can see, we finally fixed our lights.
And I fixed the lights.
Yeah.
Got them connected to the old interwebs.
Yeah, Nanoleaf, it wasn't you. It was me.
It was us. If you remember in that episode, I said, I think it's us that sucks.
We are the suck.
And it was us.
We commit the big suck. So everything actually was, it's really dope. And I'm going to get myself a pair because I won a fantasy football league this week. And I got cash on cash now. So if you want to get cash, come to our Instagram. We don't have it there, but we do have memes on memes on memes. Get yourself a hot meme, usually every day if we can find a good one.
Please.
Yeah.
Review us on
Apple,
iTunes,
yes,
right?
Yeah. Reviews,
5 stars.
Reviews help us a lot.
That's how I bought this lab. 5 stars.
5 stars. 5-star lab for 5-star reviews, and we will keep upgrading this lab as long as we get many more reviews. So
yes.
So thank you very much. I think that's
it. About it for us. We think you've been learnt.
You think you've been burnt.
And I think you got turned a little bit. It really did.
This has been Weebology. Thanks for coming to class. I'm Ricky. And you're Ethan?
I'm Ethan.
Peace.
Peace.
We had the burnt thing so
sorry.
good.